I am not the one lagging behind, Mr. Lincoln. That would be you. You had the idea. I have the headache. 4 years in this Washington city, Mr. Lincoln has conquered the office of president, learned to be commander-in-chief, yet still he has not mastered the simple reading of a timepiece. I'm certainly going to miss this old house. Well, we're not going to be here forever, you know. But I do believe long enough to make an impression. Our first home. Well, my goodness. Well, I hadn't thought about that in years. At the Globe Tavern in Springfield. It was operated by the formidable Mrs. Beck. It had 8 pleasant and comfortable rooms for boarders, as well as convenient resting places for the weary. Oh my, one would have to have been mightily weary to get any rest in that first home of ours. Well, travelers would pull up in the dead of night and pull on the clapper bell till dear Mrs. Beck roused herself. She did not hear well. Next door was the clanging and banging of the blacksmith, and our parlor was filled night and day with lobbyists and the shoutings. $4 a week. That included our meals. Our home was one a 12-foot by 14-foot room. Well, I should know. I measured it daily, detecting no signs of growth. We took our meals at a common table filled with cigar-smoking officials and traveling peddlers. And all of that while pregnant and married to a husband to return to work shortly after our marriage. And they said our dear baby Robert made too much noise. Well, my word, he was simply responding to Mrs. Beck's bell from hell. Oh, this is my box of special memories. Would you like to see? My second romance by Mr. Lincoln. Oh, I'm sure you're all aware of the stories of our meeting. The long and awkward ruffian from Kentucky, the demure socialite of Springfield. How shyly he approached me at a Springfield cotillion and said, "Miss Todd, I want to dance with you in the worst way." And rest assured he did, in the worst way. One fall afternoon, a smiling, lovingly handsome Abraham Lincoln strode down the Springfield street to my sister's home and handed me something that was as close as he could come to a sentimental peace offering. Election returns from the last 3 legislative races. I tied them with this pink ribbon and I placed them in my box. Oh, you ladies may cherish your lovers' gardenias and rose blossoms as you wish. I have my election returns. We sealed our reconciliation in the ink of the Sangamon Journal. He wrote, "Too well I know how much you suffer, but do remember that it is not my fault that I am so handsome and so interesting." To which I replied, in newsprint, mind you, "Let him come here and he may squeeze my hand as hard as I squeeze the butter. And if that ain't personal satisfaction, I can only say that he is the first man that was not satisfied with squeezing my hand." To which Mr. Lincoln replied, "Well, I know he's a fighting man and would rather fight than eat, but isn't marrying better than fighting? Although it tends to run into it." A courtship made public in a Springfield newspaper? No. Actually, these were a joke between Mr. Lincoln and me. You see, he had begun writing anonymous letters to the newspapers from the fictional Lost Township under the name Rebecca, all a ruse to embarrass the local Democrats. Well, I soon joined in with a few anonymous letters of my own, and before you know it, the entire town was eagerly awaiting the next installment of the Rebecca letters. You folks realize that once we strayed away from politics, we were getting into the serious politics of courtship. This is Mr. Lincoln's most cherished poem. For most of his life, he didn't even know the author, but he can recite this from memory. His eyes partially closed, his head tipped slightly backward. Mortality. Oh, why should the spirit of mortal be proud, like a swift fleeting meteor, a fast flying cloud? A flash of the lightning, a break of the wave, he passes from life to his rest in the grave. The leaves of the oak and the willow shall fade, be scattered around and together be laid. The young and the old and the low and the high shall molder to dust and together shall lie. I attended neither of my son's funerals. I couldn't. I would not. Oh, it is not uncommon for the ladies, the mothers, the widows, to absent themselves from final services. We are thought too weak, perhaps prone to an emotional display at the graveside, but custom or no, I would not have gone. I could not go. Just a few weeks ago, Mr. Lincoln, he came to me, and he was greatly worried, or he would not have told me this. He told me about a dream in which he was awakened by the sound of weeping. He wandered through the White House trying to find its source, the East Room. It was there, a corpse lying in its casket. Who's dead in the White House, he asked the soldiers. And the answer came, the president. And then, a few days later, Palm Sunday, April the 9th, Lee surrendered his army and Washington became one noisy parade. Impish Tad was waving his rebel flag. The president asked the band to play Dixie. I stood at a second-floor window, wondering, looking not at the fireworks and torches, but at the shadows. I do hope our guests prove to be good company this evening. We both need a diversion from the shadows that this war has cast upon us. There is a tale, and I've heard it to be true, of two pine trees that stood together in a pleasant grove, one towering far above the other. One night a storm arose, and the taller of the two trees was struck by lightning. Both trees died. The roots have become intertwined. Oh, he is getting dressed. I myself shall dress shortly, and then we will probably be off. But first, I do have to finish this entry. Let's see, where was I? Dearest diary, I prepare to attend Tom Taylor's amusement at the Ford. I shall wear my pretty new bonnet and small pattern black dress. It has been a day I shall never forget. Now and forever. And now I look forward to tonight. God only knows what's in store. I so love it's getting difficult to see. Night is falling. And the shadows. Mr. Lincoln, let us finish dressing and be